Alright, so now we got a choice to make. Also, I have to say, literally 5 minutes after I stopped recording the last episode, I got hit with a massive, theory bang in my brain. And I was like, wait a minute, return Gold Deluxe heart to her? We have a chain we have a locket that's literally a golden heart. What if that's her heart? What do we need to, unlock the locket to return her heart? But that would mean that the toy maker's our mom. Which, I mean, is possible, because the curse happened 7 years ago and our mom only died a year ago. But why did she curse the family that she once worked for? Did she see what was happening and was like, this is nonsense? Because we already established that she, put magic into the cooking. So did she know other magic? Anyway, that's my theory so far. We'll see if that's true. But for now, we're trying to do the royal route. So, I think Soul wants us to stay. Dion, maybe. I'm not sure what to make of Dion yet. He's just kind of like, oh dear. And Royal definitely wants us to leave. I'm kind of leaning towards leaving. We know there's no bad endings, so we're not going to go into the woods and then, game over. And I'm thinking we might be able to find some clues out there. And maybe Royal will feel guilty, or Lily will guilt trip him and be like, you go out there and tell that girl to get back in here before she kills herself. Fine. So, I say we leave for now and see what that gets us. I stood on the mansion's porch and stared at the forest ahead of me. The rain had stopped, but the earth was still littered with dampness. Raindrops were caught in the soft halo of moonlight. Oh, hello. I turned and looked at the toys gathered at the door. Their expressions were that of sadness. Though, the longer I looked at their glass eyes, the more I believed it was fear. So, it was nice meeting you all. Maybe we'll find out we can actually leave. And without consequences, and that's even more shady. No sooner had I finished speaking did Lily let out a sob and disappear inside. Miss Lily! Bidding me one last worried glance, Mama Bear went after her, which left only Papa Bear and Baby Bear. Bye, Soul. Why does it suddenly feel like I'm saying my final goodbyes? As if to enforce my concerns, Papa Bear scoffed at me, though it came out more like a growl.
I can't believe you really want to die so badly. Not that it matters to me. Do whatever you want.
You told me to get out of here, consistently, my dude. He gave me one last glare, then left as well. Royal. Dion looked up at me, his cute face crimped with worry and unhappiness, very much like the baby bear I kept calling him.
It's not yet too late to change your mind, you know.
Death. Were they really serious about this barrier thing? Would it seriously kill me? I looked at the forest once again. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary that could stop me. Everything was wet from the rain, but it looked the same as it had when I was running through the trees to find shelter. Nothing should happen. But why do I feel so nervous and scared? Well, if it was me in that situation, I would be like, look, there's talking toys and a house that hasn't been seen in 7 years. I'll believe that there's a curse that kills you when you go into the forest. I'll just stay. But, because it's a game, we gotta go and investigate. I took one step, then another. Resisting the urge to glance back at Baby Bear, I tried to take a third step and continue down the path. My own funeral march sung in my head, playing vividly in my mind. I tried to shake it away, but the fear had already sunk in. What if I really die when I try to leave the mansion grounds? My body froze for a few seconds, and then I was stumbling backwards until I was at the door again. I could feel cold sweat lingering on my neck. I changed my mind. Interesting.
You made the right decision to stay, my lady. Although I'm a bit intrigued. What changed your mind?
The image of a closed casket entering a tomb flashed across my mind again. You don't want to know. Baby Bear shrugged and shook his head at me, though I noticed a little smile on his face, too.
You are one weird girl. Anyway, let's go back inside before you get yourself into more trouble.
Okay. I was about to follow Baby Bear inside when I noticed something on the lawn a few yards from the porch. I squinted hard. The moonlight caught on a gathering of pebbles lined up in a wide arch on the grass. That's odd. Why are they like that? I turned towards the forest again. Beside me, Baby Bear gave a sigh.
Huh. What's wrong?
There's something in the pebbles. Without answering Baby Bear, I start towards the forest again.
Wait! Where are you going?
The worry in his voice was palpable, so I glanced over my shoulder to reassure him. Don't worry, I just want to check on something. I carefully made my way over to the pebbles, the warning about the barrier still fresh in my head. The small stones were uniformly placed around the mansion, the line too precise to be a coincidence. I leaned closer, staring at them. Is this? Whoa!
Watch out!
A weight hit me in the side just as a glass wall gleamed in front of my eyes. Well, that was close. I tumbled onto the ground and looked over just in time to see Papa Bear stumble backwards and knock his arm against the wall. Oh. Are you okay, Royal? Light arced at the contact, surrounding the small teddy bear. All at once, the stench of seared wool and burning fabric struck my senses as I watched Papa Bear fall to the ground. Oh no, I feel so guilty. Black smoke licked at his arm. Papa Bear! Ugh. I rushed over to him and saw that a small part of his arm was burnt away, revealing the fluffy foam inside, now singed. Oh my goodness, what happens when he turns into a human? Is he just missing a hand? If he were human, that foam would have been flesh and blood. Fresh and blood. I tried searching for that mysterious wall once again, but it was gone as fast as it had appeared. It seemed to be invisible until it was touched. Well, that's dangerous. Before I got lost in my thoughts, I looked down at Papa Bear, reaching out to stroke his head. Papa Bear, are you... Before I could finish my question, Papa Bear reared up and chomped down hard on my forearm. He did warn us. Ow!
Idiot. Oh.
Papa Bear stumbled a little as he got to his feet, but soon stood firm, those harsh eyes glaring at me. He pressed his injured arm against his side, and I couldn't help shivering a little at the sight of it.
You would have been burnt meat if I hadn't pushed you.
What? Huffing, I reached over and squeezed his cheeks. The felt turned red beneath my fingers. I didn't ask you to do that. Swatting at my hands with his uninjured arm, Papa Bear gave me an indignant look, as if I were the source of his every irritation.
This is the thanks I get for saving your life.
That was not the response I expected. I stared at Papa Bear and the faint smoke still drifting from his arm. Before I could fret, Baby Bear approached with a jovial laugh.
Smooth move, Mr. Knight in shining armor. Our princess here wasn't in any danger at all.
The color drained from Papa Bear's face, almost blanching the fabric this time. All of his intentions and adrenaline faded and realization kicked in.
What?
I bit my lip, fighting off a wave of guilt. The shock in Papa Bear's expression told me he really thought I was in danger. I gestured towards the pebbles. Aw, he thought I was still leaving. He's like, no, I feel guilty. Aw. He does care. I wasn't planning on leaving anymore. I just wanted to see why the pebbles were lined up like this. Ugh. Papa Bear fell to his knees, staring at me with a doomed expression on his teddy bear face. More pangs of guilt struck my chest. I finished my explanation in a lowered voice. And now I know why. It's so that you know this is the end of the barrier. Ugh. The sound of small feet on grass rustled. I looked over my shoulder and saw Mama Bear and Lily dashing towards us, both wearing expressions of concern. What happened here? Ryle, your arm! Lily pressed her hands over her mouth before looking down at the grass. Papa Bear huffed and glared sulkily in the opposite direction.
This is nothing.
Wearing a broad grin, Baby Bear joined the group, lifting his paw and patting me on the arm.
He was playing the honorable knight, saving a damsel in distress.
Papa Bear gave a frustrated exhale and got to his feet.
Shut up. I'm going back inside.
He hid his face from me, but I was sure his cheeks were flushed. Aw, Royal. Mama Bear stepped in front of Papa Bear before he could stomp off and reached out to touch Papa Bear's wrist. Royal, let me fix you up. I felt worse and worse as I stared at his scorched fabric and blackened wool. It was my fault he was injured. I should have been more aware of my surroundings. Maybe then I could have stopped him before he collided with me. Feeling a wave of determination come over me, I shifted over to Papa Bear and Mama Bear. Before he could resist, I lifted Papa Bear into my arms and got to my feet. Oh, we can see his eyes. A flash of red crossed his muzzle as he began to struggle in my arms.
What are you doing? Put me down, you idiot.
I held on to him, but tried to be gentle so I didn't accidentally hurt him. He didn't seem to feel pain as a human did, but I didn't know that for sure. Let me do it instead. The sewing, I mean. This is just like Beauty and the Beast. Gets injured. She's like, I'm gonna clean your wound. From the ground, Mama Bear gave me a perplexed look, complete with a tilted head. Do you know how to sew? Are you sure, my lady? It's no trouble for me to... Yes, I'm sure. It's the least I could do. Papa Bear ceased his struggling, though the look he gave me was not one of gratitude. Yeah.
Do you even know how to sew, girl?
I hesitated. I'd done a bit of stitching back then from time to time. It wasn't that hard, as I remember. You don't think I can?
Don't answer a question with a question.
Though Papa Bear's attitude stayed firm, I noticed a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Baby Bear chuckled, a playful smirk curving his mouth.
Hey, at least she's nice enough to offer you her help.
As if to avoid more discussion and pestering, Papa Bear slumped in my arms with a heavy sigh.
Fine. Just make sure that you fix me up properly. Got it?
Of course. Ow! Oh no. Well, we all know that sweat's gonna be coming down from Royal's head in a second as he's like, oh boy. Well, he got one stitch in. It looks pretty good. Let's just not bleed to death in the process. I winced as the needle poked my finger for the upteenth time. Thankfully, I hadn't spilled any blood on Papa Bear's arm, which could have caused him more reason to complain. I paused, noticing the irony of the situation. Here I was, worrying more about ruining Papa Bear's appearance than spilling my own blood. Sewing wasn't as easy as I had thought it was. Papa Bear heaved a sigh at me. Again.
I knew it. You have no idea what you're doing.
Of course I do. Ow! Another sigh fell from his lips, but he said nothing more. I tried to be more careful, or at least not cry out when I pricked my fingers. Eventually, I finished the task and gave Papa Bear a smile. I sewed you back up with love, okay? Oh, what a lovely room. There you go. Good as new. Shifting over to a mirror on the wall, Papa Bear turned to inspect his arm. With every second that passed, the gloomier his expression became. After a moment, he held his arm at me and glared.
You call this stitching? It almost looks worse than it did when you started.
I flinched, insulted by his lacking gratitude. Hey, it's the best I could do. Shaking his head, Papa Bear snorted and began fussing with his arm.
I should have let Lord Soul fix me up instead.
Though I opened my mouth to retort, another look at his arm closed it. His voice was mean, but he wasn't wrong. I had tried my best, but it was obvious I didn't know what I was doing. I hoped Soul could fix my mistakes. After enough silence had passed, I tried to change the topic. Does it hurt? The burn, I mean. Turning from the mirror, Papa Bear gave me a complicated look. It was unsettling how he seemed overwhelmed by emotion in one instant, then void of emotion in another.
We are toys. Pain is irrelevant to us now.
My observations earlier had been correct, though I doubt being harmed was pleasant, even if he couldn't feel the pain. Papa Bear's tone and choice of words left me uncomfortable, as did the music trailing off into silence. Okay, it's back. As though there was a lot he wasn't saying aloud. Well, thank you for saving me. Even though it wasn't really necessary. I added that last little bit with a whisper of teasing in my voice. Unfortunately, his expression remained grim and unsettled.
Do you really have to rub it in? I didn't do it for you.
Not meaning to upset him, I opened my mouth to apologize, but he shook his head and sighed.
I'm just tired of seeing people die in front of me.
A strange silence hung in the air following his words. Even though everyone in the mansion thought this wall was dangerous, it was still hard to imagine it to be deadly. When I thought about it, my chest tightened. I couldn't imagine what it was like for them to live this way. Lost in my thoughts, I almost missed what Royal murmured next.
Why do I always have to be the one who's left behind?
When I looked at him again, Royal was standing close to the mirror and had his paw resting upon the glass. Aw, did someone leave you behind? Do you have, family that left before this happened or something? Though he was a toy bear, there was genuine sadness bleeding through the fuzzy exterior. Never had it been clearer to me that these toys were once human. Before I could say his name, Royal looked up and glared at me through the mirror.
Anyway, when the time comes and you actually decide to die, do it when I'm not around.
Whatever emotions I might have seen on Royal were immediately buried. I wanted to ask him so many questions, but the look in his eyes convinced me to save them for now. And here I thought you were finally being nice to me.
If I'm being nice to you, then the world is going to end.
Giving one final scoff, Royal strode from the room. The way he touched his arm as he left suggested he was off to see Soul. Though I hadn't known him for more than a day, I sensed a gentle heart beneath his gruff exterior. Oh, really? But why does he try so hard to distance himself from the others, then? Only after I'd been left alone for a while did it dawn on me that I was trapped in this mansion. I glanced about the room I had been given. It was an elegant living space and seemed like a dream compared to what I once had back home. However, a fancy room didn't negate the fact I was now involved in a 7-year curse that I had no idea how to break. Oh. It's morning. If anyone saw me right now, they'd probably think I was a wall fixture. Oh? All I seemed capable of doing was staring out the window without the energy or inclination to do anything else. It's all I had done since Royal tried to save me 2 days ago. I know I needed to make the best of a bad situation, yet the disappointment and sadness kept me rooted by the window. I finally had a chance to bring my dreams to life. Perhaps it was a bit dramatic, but I then imagined another funeral, this time for my hopes and dreams. The coffin was fancy, and beautiful flowers were scattered everywhere. You should take this opportunity to practice your cooking skills, girl. The thought started off silly, but my eyes soon stung with tears and I started to sob. Oh my, what a crying face. I can't tell if you're doing a serious sob or or what. Suddenly the door erupted with a series of furious knocks.
Will you shut up? People are trying to sleep. How long are you planning to lock yourself in there?
Leave me alone! My command went unheeded as the rapping continued. I thought he'd give up if I ignored him, but when that seemed incorrect, I trudged towards the door. Opening it revealed Royal with a venomous look on his face. Striking the tears from my face, I glared back at him. Can't you just let me drown in despair? I just lost my future 2 days ago.
And we already lost ours 7 years ago.
Yeah, so you've had 7 years to process it. Give me some time. His clipped retort froze me in place, guilt flowing over me. Compared to the life the Deluxe mansion had been cursed with, my working in a kitchen in Glendale seemed weightless. Glancing at Royal's arm, I remembered what had happened 2 nights ago. Did you end up getting it fixed, or did you leave it? Oh, okay. He did get it fixed. He's like, this is crap. Sol had managed to salvage the limb, but the results of my poor stitching job lingered like a wound. I felt stupid for being so selfish. I'm sorry. The glare softened from angry to annoyed. Royal nodded and changed the subject.
Now, why don't you make yourself useful and help me with the cleaning?
There was a broom resting against the wall, which he then took up and handed to me. I accepted and motioned to start the task without another word.
You're making our guests clean? You are such a gentleman, Royal.
Dion approached us from the far end of the hall, clucking his tongue as he walked. He had a grin on his face. Royal turned his scowl on Dion.
She should make herself useful instead of moping up here.
Ah, so we have maiden in need, then. Would you like to play with me instead, my lady? I'm sure we'll have lots of fun together.
His glare remaining firm, Royal stepped in front of Dion as if to keep us apart. It didn't seem protective, more like he didn't want me to stop sweeping.
Somehow, your idea of playing sounds indecent.
Dion wagged his paws in front of him to gesture innocence, but his budding smirk was teasing.
My, you have such a dirty mind, dear Royal.
Royal replied with a snort as he crossed his arms.
If it's you, I can think of all the worst possibilities.
Ouch, I'm hurt. Do you really think of me that way?
I wonder.
Oh no, we got another I wonder boy. I didn't really think the situation was worth a verbal battle. This was all going over my head. Clutching the broom handle in my hands, I tried to reason with them. You guys? Please don't fight. With a tilt of the head, Dion glanced at me. The surprise in his expression caught me off guard. His following smile was sweet and teasing.
Ah, don't worry. This is normal for us.
Eh? Shaking his head to end the topic, Dion turned towards the direction he'd come from.
Anyway, just come to me if you want to play with someone, love.
Even though he'd insisted to Royal that his meaning was innocent, I couldn't help agreeing with the Grumpy Bear's interpretation. I'm just trying to figure out how a teddy bear does something indecent. That's kind of terrifying. I forced a smile anyway. Sure.
Do take good care of our guests, Royal.
With a wave, Dion went on his way. Royal watched in a huffy silence until Dion rounded the corner and disappeared, then exhaled a petulant sigh.
How bothersome. Come now. Miss Maria won't be happy if she sees us slacking off in here.
There was a note in his voice that suggested I obey. And thinking back to my first meeting with Miss Maria, I didn't dare argue with him. Ooh, a library. We ended up at the library, and boy was it huge. Well, it seemed huge compared to the small room of books I was used to back at the village. I stood at the doorway in awe, wondering just how many books were housed in here. Must have stayed there for some time, because Royal gave a deliberate cough before advancing towards the shelves. When I turned to look at him, he glared back at me. Then again, I was already getting used to his glares. It seemed to be a trademark of his, so my day wouldn't have been complete without 1 or 10 of them. Though I should have started to clean, my attention stayed on Royal, my eyes watching him dust the shelves with the cloth he carried. His teddy bear form did not seem to hinder him as much as I thought it would. 7 years. They've lived their lives as toys for 7 years in a curse that seems impossible to break. A wave of helplessness and regret washed over me. I couldn't stand the idea of them being trapped this way, but it wasn't as if I had the means to save the day, either. It's not like I had this golden locket that might be useful. How unfair. Casting a curse without indicating the way to end it. Flinching, I pressed my hand to my mouth. I hadn't intended to say that out loud. When I looked up, Royal was staring at me, his eyes dulled and his mouth pressed in a flat line.
It's certainly unfair, but we have no choice but to live with it.
His tone of voice struck me in the chest. It lacked the conviction I thought it would. Though I suppose after 7 years, he'd given up on the idea of being saved. Still, I felt sad hearing it. Don't you ever wish you'll become human once again? Royal finally stopped wiping the shells, but there was a strange stiffness in his little body. Though he'd spoken like nothing mattered anymore, his hesitation at my question suggested otherwise. Do you, become humans on, the full moon or something? Once in a while?
My wishes are only for that person.
This time there was emotion in his voice. There was a soft and distant sadness to it, yet also a warmth that I hadn't heard him express in the few days I'd been there. A twinge of envy hit me. There was a side of Royal that wasn't all thorns. And it wasn't directed at me. Wow. We've only known this bear for 2 days. Chill, girl. And that is?
That's none of your business, girl.
There it was again, the thorny, mean side Royal kept turning on me. Not that he seemed to show anyone else much kindness, but it was tiring to be snapped at all the time. I puffed at my cheeks in annoyance. Why are you so mean to me?
I'm not.
Yes, you are, Grumpy Bear. He gestured at the broom in my hands.
The floors won't sweep themselves, you know.
Scowling at him, I clenched my hands upon the broom handle and swung it haphazardly, sending clouds of dust flying in every direction. I knew it was terribly childish, but Royal was so frustrating. He waved his arms at the dust scattering through the air.
Do you even know how to clean?
I am cleaning, Mr. Grumpy Bear. I slowed my temperamental sweeps after that, since I wasn't looking to actually create a mess. I was just frustrated. Royal was the gloomiest of them all, and for some reason it bothered me not knowing why he acted that way. And not that I could prove it, but it seemed like Royal was meaner to me than everyone else. It just felt like my presence was an irritant to him. The way he glared at me, the edge in his voice. It all seemed worse than how he treated the others. You are the newest person here. He's kind of gotten into a relationship routine with everybody else. I knew it made sense logically. They were people he'd lived with, even before the curse, versus me, the outsider from only a few days ago. But it was still so unfair. A scuffle of movement broke through my reverie. I turned to see Royal standing on a middle shelf trying to reach the one above. Oh no, do we have to catch this boy? He was up on his tiptoes. The shelves weren't evenly spaced and meant to accommodate taller books, so he couldn't reach the next one up as easily. He was clearly having a hard time, yet he refused to ask for my help. Seconds ticked on, in which Royal tried many different tactics, but he still struggled to wipe the shelf above him. He was such a stubborn bear. I know I can't get bad endings, but... Okay, so we're going for normal first, so... I feel like we should help him. It'll annoy him right now. Leaving him alone would probably lead to us having to save him or something. Or he'll have to suck it up and ask us maybe. So let's help him for now. Here, let me. I snatched the rag from him. Don't even ask permission, it's let me take it. And the glare comes in 3, 2... As if in tune with my prediction, Royal's brow furrowed into a deep glare. I'm getting so used to that.
I didn't ask for your help, girl.
You didn't, but it's not like you asked for my help anyways.
I don't need anyone's help.
Such a stubborn bear. Royal impatiently tapped his fluffy foot as he continued to glare directly at me.
Give me back my rag, then keep sweeping the floor.
I bent down, balancing on my feet until we were eye level. No. My immediate refusal caused a flinch. I guess he did not expect me to continue being stubborn.
What?
It was obvious that you were having a hard time back there.
I repeat, I don't need your help.
His snarl did not scare me off. I wasn't going to let him put distance between us. Sure you do. You're just too stubborn to ask. It's not like asking for help would get you killed or something. No one would think that it's a weakness. After Royal seemed subdued, I lifted my hand towards him as a peace offering. We're gonna get chomped again. Now, why don't you be a good bear and let Big Sister do her thing? Royal bit down on my extended hand without hesitation. You go, boy. Ow! Royal! The fact that a stuffed bear could leave large teeth marks in my skin still surprised me. It hurt quite a bit, too.
I'm 19. That makes me older than you, idiot.
Oh my goodness, you've been here since you were 12? That's so sad. Aw. I rolled my eyes. It was hard to remember his age when he was so tiny. Fine. I forgot that I had to respect my elders. Right, old man? Royal took the rag from my hand.
Now start cleaning before I change my mind and make you clean the whole house by yourself.
Fine. I picked up the broom without another word. I didn't think I would ever get along with this grumpy bear. Aw, such a grumpy bear.